Hey guys, welcome back to Roots and Refuge Farm. Maya here. Today is the second day of fake spring. That's why I've got a tank top on and it's in the mid 70s. We've got spring today, partial cloudiness tomorrow, snow by Thursday, and then fake spring 3 should come sometime next weekend. I don't know if the rest of you guys ever have to deal with like seasons not knowing what they're supposed to do. But Arkansas is notorious for not being able to make up its mind. We're outside enjoying this crazy good weather in the middle of February, actually in the beginning of February. We are working in the garden. We've got the row covers in, which is this white fabricy stuff right here. So we bought enough to do 4 row covers on this bed, the second 48-foot bed, and then these 2 beds along the fence right here. It was pretty affordable. I think we spent $70 from Grower Solutions. We'll have a link to their website down below. Those were pretty highly recommended. Ben Vinson also uses Grower Solutions, and so this will be our first time actually setting up row covers. Should go pretty easy. Today I'm going to go over what me and Ben Turn kind of came up with to essentially build the hoops to hold up the fabric. I don't think it's original. I'm sure that there's other people who have done similar thing. This is just what I feel like would be the most sturdy and longer lasting. This is just I guess my preference. I think there's obviously multiple ways you can do something, but we'll go through and explain what we decided to do, how we're doing it, what you would need to get at your hardware store if you wanted to reproduce our hoop houses. Well, for starters, on these 2 beds right here and the first 2 beds, which are the ones down there in the end, when we first started making our garden beds, we actually did not have any cedar posts. And so we just cut down some oak trees, some smaller ones that were straight, and used those. And that's what this is right here, that's an oak. Well, that did not go so well. It's been, what, 4 years? And they are essentially eaten up and rotted out and fallen apart pretty bad. And so before we put a bunch of pressure on the top rung of the bed with the hoop houses, we're going to go ahead and bust out these old posts and dig new holes and put in cedar posts, because we've actually got extra cedar posts now. And so that's what we're going to get done first, because we can't put the hoop house on this bed until it's more sturdy. Look at that, just look at that falling apart. And that's what happens after a few years with non-water resistant rot-proof wood. So I highly suggest never doing what we did. Just use cedar or some other kind of cypress or something, but don't use oak. That's bad. Look at how easy that is. That's so bad. Hey lady, so because I have no actual idea other than like basic like temperature and bug stuff, why do we do hoop house row cover things?
It's just to provide a little bit of cover because of the weather, so that if it does get colder than what these plants can tolerate, then it keeps the weather off of them a little bit and protects them. Like last year, because we do have such temperate weather, we could have grown all through the winter, but we had a couple of times that it would just dip down really low and damage the plant. So we're just kind of trying to extend the season. And then also my plan is that after we've got most of the cold weather stuff planted and we're starting to pull it out, then I'm hoping to plant my squashes underneath these to keep the bugs off of them.
Interesting. So essentially this is a plant blanket.
More or less.
So this has nothing to do with the fact that you love blankets and being wrapped up in blankets.
No.
This is strictly industrial.
That is true. I do love a good blanket.
Okay. My theory is Jessica loves plants. Jessica loves blankets. Jessica really loves plant blankets. Alright, so we've almost got all the posts repaired, so I'm going to go over real quick the materials and just a rough design before we actually start trying to apply it, and then troubleshoot if there are any problems. I know that a lot of people use like a wire. Grower Solutions even sells like pre-cut wires that or a long strand of wire that you can cut yourself, and you just kind of stick it in the ground, and it's got enough tension on it and tensile strength to just hold up this fabric. The fabric is very lightweight. We decided not to do the wire. I think we're going to go for something more sturdy, something that we can fold up each side if we need to, the fabric, and have something for it to lay on top of. I have seen on other videos that people with raised beds have built frames that have hinges, and then they build the hoop on the frame, and literally the whole contraption, the whole hoop house moves up. I think with as big as our beds are and kind of how wide they are, I think the material cost for that was going to be a little too high. And also I'm thinking Jessica's going to be out here mostly lifting and accessing the beds underneath the hoop houses, and so those could get probably a little heavy. So what we settled on was using a PVC, not waterline PVC, but the gray electrical PVC. We're going with a 1/2 inch. Now you can buy these at Home Depot, Lowe's, probably any hardware store that has any kind of electrical supply. We bought 1/2 inch. They come in 10-foot sticks, and I do believe if you buy more than 10 at a time, which we ended up buying like 30 to do all the hoop houses, I do believe that they were like $1.80 a piece. So that's still not that bad. Okay, so the goal is to essentially hoop the PVC like that. This is a stick of the PVC. You can see that it's got a lot of flex to it, so it's going to flex, it's not going to bend. The gray PVC is UV stabilized, or it says UV or sunlight resistant. Regular waterline PVC will also flex like this, but it is not UV resistant, and the longer it sits out in the sun, the more brittle it gets, and then eventually it cracks. So as far as like this purpose, that would not be a good choice. Do not use regular PVC. It won't last, but this should last. So essentially we're going to flex it like this, figure out what the length is. I'm not 100% sure how long we'll have to cut this, but essentially we're going to hoop it from one side to the other side, and we're going to secure them as essentially these little clips. Got a screw hole on each side. This is 1/2 inch gray electrical PVC. These are 3/4 inch clips. If you get 1/2 inch clips, there's going to be too much pressure, and honestly these fit over them perfectly without adding a lot of pressure to the conduit, which is what we would prefer for this particular job, because actually I want to be able to slide the hoops in and out of the clips pretty easily. I don't want to have to take the clips off. These will stay in, so when we go to put the hoop houses back up each year, we'll know exactly where each piece goes because the clips will already be there. These are galvanized, so they're not going to decay or rust. At least if they do, it'll take a really long time. All right, so we're going to secure 2 clips. One, let's say 2, right? And the reason we're going to do 2 is because if you just do 1, it's almost like a pivot point where it'll slide back and forth. If you were to do 2 clips, it gives 2 points of contact, and so it's not going to go, you know, cattywampus on that. And we're going to do 2 clips on each side per each run. We're going to go 4 feet from the first one and put another one in, and then 4 feet, and then 4 feet, and then 4 feet, all the way down. Once we get the clips in, we're going to figure out how tall we want the hoop to be, and then we'll cut our first hoop. Okay, I know I'm not alone in this. You know that part of a project you get to whenever it's all conceptualized and you think it's going to work perfectly, and then it really doesn't? I'm at that point. So what does that mean? We got the clips in. We figured out how high the hoop needed to be, which was 78 inches. That's the length of the hoop for our beds. I think everyone's would be different, so don't just go off of ours. But ours, we felt good with 78 inches. That gave us enough space on each side with enough fabric to weigh it down to keep everything out, keep heat in. We did run into a problem. My idea to use the PVC joint did not go how I thought it would. So I cut the middle of the hoop, stuck the T on, and went to put it back in, and it just wasn't really fitting right. The angle was too steep. It just didn't look sturdy enough, so I'm on to plan B. think what we're gonna try now is, Jessica's like, well, maybe we don't need a center support, and I don't know that we absolutely have to have it. But I'm gonna try and work something out to be able to still have one, because when we go to roll up the fabric and set it on top of something, I wanna be able to have a center support that holds the weight of the rolled up fabric. So that's kind of why I'm pushing to have a center support. So my second idea, nixing the PVC joints, is I'm going to get all my hoops in, and then I'm going to run a single strand of electrical PVC across the top of all the hoops, and then we're going to use some kind of twine or something and just twine the joints.
You think you want some more? Okay, there you go. Where are you going to put them? Well, find a good spot for them.
Ryan, what are you doing?
I don't know.
You don't know? What is that?
I don't know.
Look at you poking that hole. And there they go. What are you planting?
Food, right, Ryan? It's food.
You planting food?
Yeah.
Cool.
And beets.
And beets. Food and beets.
I can grab some.
You can grab a little, remember? You can grab a few. Don't grab a whole hand.
Alright. This is a little cuteness relief in between the information dump on the hoop houses. Golly, it is so muddy. My feet are soaking wet right now. We've had a lot of rain. Bentern is putting in the last hoop and knocking over the footboard of our garden bed.
It's always when I'm on camera.
Yeah.
Start to make mistakes.
It's okay. Ben, I think you could be the clumsiest person, and I don't think it would hurt your chances at all. All right, there you go. So we got all the hoops in. There you go. One thing we did end up changing, because it seems pretty sturdy, unless it felt like we needed it, we only put one clip on each side, and then we utilized the soil as a second point of contact. So that'll give us a bunch of extra clips. Now, what we're actually gonna do is take all the cutoffs. So let me show you this. So like I said, they come in 10-foot sticks. Those are our 78-inch pieces. This is what's left over. Now, electrical conduit comes with this expanded end right here. And what's that? Kind of see it like that, where it's thicker. That essentially is so you can piece these together without having to buy a coupling. We cut all of the ends that have this essential pre-installed coupling on it off. So what we're going to do to set up this top center support is piece all these together and see how far we can get. Utilizing the scraps of what we cut off to make the hoops, wrapped each of the joints in twine, and I think the two people constructing it feel pretty satisfied with its sturdiness. It looks pretty good. Jessica doesn't care about that. She just wants it to work, and it already looks pretty. So what do you think?
Looks very pretty.
Very pretty, she says. One of the issues we ran into yesterday was that I was going to use rocks, because we have a ton of rocks around the property, to be able to weigh down the fabric in between each of the hoops. And then Jessica was like, well, that really takes away a lot of the planning space, which was true, but I didn't think that it mattered. Apparently it does matter. So as we were talking about it, she actually came up with a great idea. So her idea was to use rebar. So we cut them into like 3.5-foot sections, and essentially you just roll it up into the fabric and set it down up against the edge. And we did that on the first one, and it's working great. So that actually gave us the each section to be able to be weighed down, and also maximize the amount of planning space that she has inside the road cover. Me and Ben are about to put on this last one and get it all weighed down on each end of the road cover. Actually, I'll just go over there and show you guys. Each end, because it's just like a blanket, we ended up tying a knot in it, which is right here. This is just a knot, and then we are using rocks on the ends to help weigh that down on that. And so far it seems to be working pretty well. This has been a pretty windy day. If it can hold up to what's going on right now, as far as the weather's concerned, then it should be fine, unless like a really severe windstorm comes through. We'll just see what happens. Pretty much all we got for the row cover stuff. We've got them in. We've still got to do the two 50-foot beds or 48-foot beds. Like I said, we've got some rain coming in, so we'll probably wait until after it's done raining and we get some clear weather again. We'll come back out and throw these last two together. But she planted these two beds, and we're gonna have those both covered today. I think it went pretty well. We learned a lot. Thanks for hanging out with us today and yesterday. I've actually got to go handle some more stuff, so that's going to be it for today, guys. We bless you until next time.